The story you're about to see is a big, fat lie. No names have been changed to protect anybody.
Now in its 44th year in operation, combining cartoons and football together since 1981. This is America's first and foremost fantasy football league. We are the USCFL, the United States Cartoon Football League.
Let's get ready to rumble!
Greetings, cartoon and football fans, and fans of, whatever this is supposed to be. This is Robbie Graham of the USCFL Network, welcoming you to our continuing series of episode runoffs, as well as our 300th video. Yes, fans, it took nearly 6 years, but we finally made it to the 300th video. If you're joining us for the first time, may we extend to you a cordial welcome, and we hope you'll enjoy everything this channel has to offer. We also invite you to take a moment to subscribe to this channel and join our team. We strive to be one of YouTube's least offensive channels by providing a different spin about your favorite cartoon characters from the past and present that doesn't reflect on their true legacies. If your favorite character or characters aren't mentioned in our videos, please leave a comment and we will answer your questions. Also be sure to ring the bell to alert you of when we put up any new videos. The USCFL is on Patreon, and you can help support us for as low as $3 US a month to as much as $5 US a month, which averages out to 10 to 17 cents a day. In time, we can offer merchandise and other perks to help show your love for America's oldest fantasy football league. To recap how the first season of Velma did last year, we used football scoring as always to score each episode. Out of a possible 80 points, assuming all 10 episodes scored a maximum of 8 points each, didn't get as much as a 6 on any episode, finishing with only 19 points and a percentage rate of 23.8% back on February 18th of last year. For Season 2, we are erasing the scoring and starting fresh, but we will add the first season score to the second season score and give an overall score out of a possible 160 points and a new percentage rate. In 1 minute, my friend and yours, Bob Wilson, will rate and score on the first 2 episodes of the second season of Velma. Lord have mercy on us all.
Hit the road, Jack. Don't you come back no more, no more, no more, no more. Hit the road, Jack. And don't you come back no more.
What you say?
Hit the road, Jack. And don't you come back no more, no more, no more, no more. Hit the road, Jack. And don't you come back no more.
Oh woman, don't treat me so mean. You're the meanest old woman that I've ever seen. I guess if you say so, I'll have to pack my things and go.
That's right, hit the road, Jack. And don't you come back no more, no more, no more, no more. Hit the road, Jack. And don't you come back no more.
What you say?
Hit the road, Jack. And don't you come back no more, no more, no more, no more. Hit the road, Jack. And don't you come back no more.
Good morning. This is Bob Mozart from the USCFL Network, welcoming you to this series of reviews on the new season of the Velma animated series which is running on the Max streaming channel. I'm going to try to rate this series on its own without comparing it to previous iterations of Scooby-Doo. Episode 1, The Mystery of Teen Romance. 3 weeks following the conclusion of the previous series, Velma and Daphne are still sorting out the nature of their relationship. Daphne heard Velma say that she loved Norville and hasn't accepted Velma's frequent explanations for the declaration. Norville, in the meantime, is suffering from hallucinations of Victoria, Fred's mother, who is blaming him for her death. Fred is convinced that his mother was possessed by a ghost of Edna Purdue, Norville's grandmother, and was not responsible for the attacks on the 3 young women and the removal of the brains from their bodies. Fred has converted to Catholicism and has become a ghost hunter for hire, aided by his 2 lapdogs. As for the adults, Velma's mother, Dia, has stopped writing mystery novels. Norville's father is trying to get him to use marijuana to control his hallucinations. Norville pretends that he is using the weed, but actually engages in stress eating. Mr. Swendig, Velma's favorite biology teacher, has returned to Crystal Cove after a 2-year sabbatical, and Velma is hopeful of getting his support for an internship at a criminology lab. Velma talks to Mr. Swendig, and he mentions that he used to enjoy talking with her mother. Velma and Daphne are on their way to a teen party in the woods, as Velma is popular now for having stopped the attacks on her female classmates. However, as they pick their way through the debris of the previous parties, they come across the body of Sheriff Cogburn. Daphne's mothers initiate an investigation and decide to run for sheriff. Velma wants to exhume the body of Victoria to assure that she is truly dead, but Daphne's mothers refuse to consider that. Daphne and Velma meet Amber, who has just moved to town with her mother Thorn, a former member of the Hex Girls who wants to open an occult bookstore. Daphne's mothers offer to house Thorn and Amber until they are able to find a place of their own. Amber will room with Daphne and proves to be an intellectual equal with Velma despite her acceptance of occultism. Fred tells Daphne that she should accept Velma's explanation that she doesn't have romantic feelings for Norval. Velma decides to dig up Victoria's grave by herself, but is attacked by someone who leaves a shoe behind. Velma and her mother argue about Velma once again attempting to solve a mystery. Dia is interested when Velma tells her that Mr. Swendig is back in town. Velma plans to enter a fingerprint that she found on the shoe into the police database, but the shoe is torn to pieces by Fred's dogs. Then Velma finds out that Norval has a matching shoe to the one that Fred's dogs destroyed. They find out that Sheriff Cogburn is going to be secretly buried, so they go to the funeral home to see if there are any clues on the body. When they open the casket, they find Fred asleep inside. It turns out that Sheriff Cogburn had a twin brother. Daphne tells Velma that she thinks it was Daphne's mothers who killed the sheriff in order to take over his job. Velma and Daphne decide to investigate Daphne's mothers tomorrow morning during the campaign rally. Dia tells Velma to spend the night at her father's because Dia is going to be entertaining Mr. Swendig. When Daphne and Velma confront Daphne's mothers, they admit that they had known for 3 weeks that the sheriff had been murdered, but kept quiet so that they could plan their political campaign to get elected sheriff. It turns out that Edna Purdue's journals were in Victoria's case file, but they are now missing from it. And it also turns out that Mr. Swendig was very interested into Edna Purdue's research. Velma is now convinced that he is the murderer and goes home to find out that her mother has started writing again. Review and scoring. This episode continues the problems of the past season. None of the characters are likable. It doesn't matter how good the mystery is if you don't really care who's solving it. They do not get along with each other, and any cooperation between them is haphazard at best. There has been no character growth in any of them. The only good thing that I can say about this episode is that it did not have the gratuitous nudity that the first episode of Season 1 had. There were 4 new characters, Thorn and Amber, Mr. Swendig, and Sheriff Cogburn's brother. I give this episode a 2 out of 10. Episode 2, Creaky Friday. At school the next day, it turns out that Mr. Swendig is now missing. The school is focused on the annual Creaky Friday event, where students are randomly paired up with each other to compete to see who can oil the most door hinges in a day. Velma rigs the selection process to pair her up with Fred, whom she believes has knowledge about the disappearance of Mr. Swendig. Meanwhile, Daphne is paired with Amber. A lot of this episode was wasted time explaining the significance of Creaky Friday. Velma convinces Fred to abandon oiling door hinges to pursue the investigation. Fred is hired by a mysterious and anonymous stranger to investigate the disappearances. He gets a photo of someone in a spooky costume in the sheriff's office. At the costume store, they find that the costume was rented by Norval. When confronted, Norval explains that he wore the disguise so that he could sneak into the sheriff's office to steal his grandmother's journals from the case file. Norval hoped that he could find a way in those journals to stop his hallucinations. Amber is struck by a car and is hospitalized. After she recovers, she and Daphne start oiling the hospital doors and are oiling hinges in the basement of the morgue when they meet the 2 morgue attendants. They find that the genitals of Sheriff Cogburn and Mr. Swendig were mutilated. Norville feels sorry for the 3 girls in the brain jars and offers to build a way for them to move about. However, they get mad at him when he admits that he has been studying their brain activities in a way to stop his hallucination. Velma confronts Daphne's mothers, who admit that they were the ones who sent Fred the picture of the costumed man in the sheriff's office. Dia has decided to write a book about her kidnapping and meets with Fred's father to interview him about his memories of the event. Lola, the brain, comes to Norville and thanks him for the mobility systems that he built. She is willing to give him a second chance and help him solve his hallucinations. Sheriff Cogworm's brother finds out that Daphne's mothers are using the teenagers to generate leads for their investigation and decide to run against them in the election. Velma suggests that Fred investigate his religion after finding out that he had paid $10,000 for a holy relic. When he finds out that he would be expected to tithe 10% of his wealth, he quickly loses his faith. Daphne and Amber win the Freaky Friday contest. When she returns home, Velma finds that her mother has hooked up with Fred's dad, only the day after having hooked up with Mr. Swendig. As the episode ends, we find out that one of the morgue attendants has been killed. Review and scoring. This episode used the Freaky Friday ruse to give the teams of Daphne and Amber and Velma and Fred a reason to run around town for their investigation. Other than finding out that the first two male victims had mutilated genitals, not much else was uncovered. Once again, little character growth was demonstrated, and the episode spent much time on red herrings. I give this episode a 1. This is Bob Mozart from the USCFL Network, returning you to the wrap-up by our host and moderator, Robbie. Thank you, and have a good week.
Got hair as black as night, got a skirt that's so tired, telling you I got a miss. She's my wish. Love her though she's good and bad. Mess around and you've been had. Got a key and a nasty switch. She's my witch. Likes to rock to a crazy song.
Welcome back. And there you have it. Once again, this series doesn't seem to impress viewers, and surprisingly, no other YouTube channel seems to be covering this. And since we are a cartoon/sports league, it's our duty to report on such shows to give you an idea of what the average viewer thinks. For this runoff, we will add a 1 to our scoring system, meaning 1 point is similar to that of an extra point attempt. Therefore, after the first 2 episodes, Velma 2 has a score of 3 points out of a possible 20 points and a percentage rate of 3.8% based on the maximum score. Will this improve for the next 2 episodes? Do you believe in miracles? For this show, it needs all the miracles it can get. Find out next week if it does indeed improve, and until then, this is Robbie Graham of the USCFL Network wishing you peace. Take care and stay safe.